Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10th, Chapter 46, Shlok number 6. Dharayanti ati kruchrena prayah pranana kantanchana pratyagamana sandesher Ballavyo me mad atmaka Dharayanti ati krishchena Prayah pranana kanchana Pratyagamana sandeshe Balavayo me mad atmika Dharayanti ati kruchrena Prayah pranana kathanchana Pratyagamama sandeshe Ballevyo me mad atmika Dharayanti ti krishrena Prayah pranan katanchanan Pratyagamana sandesher Ballavyo me mad atmika Dharayanti ati krishrena Prayah pranan kathanchana Pratyagamana sandeshe Ballavyo me mad atmika Dharayanti ati kruchrena Prayah pranana kathanchana Pratyagamana sandeshe Ballavyo me mad atmika Matajis Dharayanti ati krishrena Prayah pranan kathanchana Pratyagamana sandesher Ballavyo me mad atmika. Translation and purport by humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Dharayanti, they hold on. Ati kruchrena, with great difficulty. Prayah, barely. Pranan, to their lives. Kathanchana, somehow. Prati agamana, of return. Sandesha, by the promises. Ballavya, the cowherd women. Me, mine. Mad atmika, who are fully dedicated to me. Simply because I have promised to return to them, my fully devoted cowherd girlfriends struggle to maintain their lives somehow or other. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, although the gopis of Vrindavan were apparently married, their husbands actually had no contact whatsoever with their supremely attractive qualities of form, taste, fragrance, sound, touch, and so on. Rather, their husbands merely presumed these are our wives. In other words, by Lord Krishna's spiritual potency, the gopis existed entirely for his pleasure, and Krishna loved them in the mood of a paramour. In fact, the gopis were manifestations of Krishna's internal nature, his supreme pleasure potency, and on the spiritual platform they attracted the Lord by their pure love. Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, Lord Krishna's parents in Vrindavan, had also attained a most exalted state of love for Krishna, and they too could barely maintain their lives in his absence. Thus, Uddhav would also give special attention to them. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padamkitam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sa Advaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamcha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam is Amal Puran. It is the most exalted Shastra in entire creation. And to speak on the such exalted matter about pure love between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees is even more difficult. And the most difficult is to sit on this most exalted place from where we have heard from the mouth of pure-hearted devotees for years and years together. But in this almost impossible task, there is a great solace. That solace in this uncomfortable task is to repeat whatever you have heard or you have read from the pure-hearted, most exalted Vaishnavas. When you have to repeat the same thing, there is a great solace. So today I am humbly going to submit in front all of this august assembly of Vaishnava whatever I have heard and whatever I have read on this particular topic. So in this particular shloka, certain words, as you know, krushrena, ati krushrena, with great difficulty. This word comes again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam in different aspects when devotees are in great difficulty. And similar words like with great difficulty, barely, somehow, dhayanti, to hold on, ati krushrena, with great difficulty, prayah, barely, kathanchana, somehow, pranam, to their lives. Somehow devotees were holding on to their lives because Krishna had promised them that one day he will return. This whole episode begins in the Kamsa's palace in the dark night of fortnight of Falgun Ekadashi. This is the night when Kamsa sends Akrura with a dark plan in the dark city of Mathura under the demonic mentality of Kamsa to get back that dark complexioned boy from Vrindavan, to relieve the darkness over Mathura, but to set Vrindavan in an eternal darkness. When Akrura, as we all know, that wonderful journey of Akrura in tremendous anticipation of meeting Lord Krishna and Balram in the Holy Dham, how he reaches in the evening at the time of Godhuli, he falls at the feet of Lord's markings on the ground, and then he meets his dearmost Krishna and Balram, and then with all Vaishnava etiquette, he is taken inside his house. First news is received by Nanda Baba, and for Nanda Baba it was like a thunderbolt. However, being in a responsible position, he was a chief of the entire Gokul Brajvasis, Vrindavan Brajvasis. His responsibility masked the response to this tragic reality temporarily. Nanda Baba was a Dhir Purush. He was trained to act with a responsibility. And although the terror had already struck, but it took some time, under the guise of his responsibility, he couldn't express the tremendous, heartbreaking event in his own expression. The first to come to know about this most terrifying news was Mother Yashoda. As soon as Mother Yashoda came to know that Krishna and Balram, her two most precious jewels, were going to leave Vrindavan tomorrow, she became just like a cow is about to lose her calf, and how a cow will bellow helplessly. Just in the same way, Yashoda Maya started bellowing. She started arguing. She started putting reasons in front of Nanda Baba not to send Krishna and Balram. And while she was arguing continuously with Nanda Baba, simultaneously she was trying to hide Krishna somewhere or other. First, she tried to hide Krishna behind curtains. Then, she took Krishna within the closets. And in the end, Yashoda Mai took Krishna behind the deity of Varahadev. Whole night, Yashoda Mai will go from one place to other place, thinking how Krishna can escape this tomorrow morning's travel. Only thing in this particular time was that, surprisingly, the same naughty Krishna, same Chanchal Krishna, is described that all her mother's tries when she was attempting to hide Krishna, Krishna was completely docile. Mother will take him to a closet, to the curtain, to Varahadev, and Krishna, like a humble, docile child, will follow wherever mother would try to hide him. However, Mother Yashoda today realized that during Damodar Leela, she utilized the ropes of entire 9 lakh cows, and when that did not work out, she utilized the ropes of all the calves to tie her own calf. But she was unsuccessful. Somehow, destiny today was repeating the same cruel pastime. Mother Yashoda would not be able to hold on to Krishna today, even if she tries to use the ropes of entire universe. Finally, words of Nanda Baba came for her rescue and pacified her little bit. Nanda Baba told her, Yashoda, don't worry. Krishna will return. Krishna will surely return. And Krishna is not going alone. Krishna is going with senior cowherd boys. He is finishing his work, and cowherd boys and myself, we will personally bring Krishna back. And those words held her fragile lifeline. Her fragile lifeline rested entirely on the words of her husband that Krishna will return. Now, as it is said, bad news spread quickly. And no wonder that Krishna is going to leave Vrindavan. This terrifying news started spreading like a wildfire. First, Brajvasis became numb with the effect of this bad news. And after the effect of this bad news gradually started getting ripened, its consequences started to fructify. It is said that when the bad news consequences fructify, the consequences of those bad news spread much faster than the bad news itself. Whenever there is a trauma, there is an accident, suppose somebody is traveling by a vehicle and keeps his or her hand out, and something very fast, very high velocity thing stuck to somebody's elbow, first reaction is no reaction, because that part has become numb. You don't feel anything. And after some time, when you see the ghastly picture of no skin, flesh, blood and bone, at that time, the bad news gets ripened. You realize what has happened. And then the consequences of that bad act, bad trauma started to fructify. And then the whole gamut of reaction develops from the person who is traumatized and the person who see that particular trauma. Similarly, initially Krishna leaves, that trauma made everybody numb. Gradually things started taking its place and the reality started coming down. As we saw how Yashoda Maiya behaved in this helpless situation. All the Gopals, Brajvasi Gopals, they were initially terrified. Simply terrified. The color of their turbans faded. Their complexion waned and their eyes started crying. All around Vrindavan, even the inanimate objects like stone, wood and clay pots, they started crying and ultimately they cracked. They cracked along with the hearts of all the Brajvasis. Generally at this time of Chaitra in the night, Vrindavan is very pleasant because it is filled with nocturnal pastimes of Lord Hari. But today's night was different. The moon refused to rise. The same moon on the day of Lord's birth, even though it was not a full moon, moon appeared as a full moon because Lord was going to take birth in his dynasty. But today, moon disappeared from the night. He refused to rise. Stars faded. The entire environment, the ether, was pervaded with a sound of grief. Wind stopped completely. The only sign of a wind was that fickle breathing in fainted Brajvasis and heavy breathing in the Brajvasis who were lamenting. Yamuna was overfilled. She was not overfilled with joy, but she was overfilled with the tears of humans, animals, birds alike. And she was filled with the lamentation that Lord Hari is going to leave very soon. Morning sun arose, and Brajvasis were praying, let this sun not rise today. Let this dream that Krishna is going to leave break very fast, and then we begin our normal daily activity of serving Lord Krishna. Somehow, but sun arose. Sun lifted the veil of darkness, but sun could not lift the darkness and the gloom from the heart of Brajvasis. Sun could dry the morning dew from the petals and the leaves, but sun could not dry the tears of Brajvasis' eyes. And whole Nandigram, the mount of Nandigram, was filled with the water. There was no rainy season, but it was filled with the water coming out from the oceanic tears of Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maya, and Brajvasi. The scene was extremely heart-wrenching. Morning, when Krishna was leaving, Akrurji performed his daily duty. Lord and Balramji both performed their duty, and they were about to climb on the chariot, and it is described heart-wrenching scene. No wonder. Why? Because today Vrindavan's soul was being taken away by Akrurji himself. As we all know, what was the situation of cowherd girls? Somebody was acting erratically as if they have maddened. Some gopis became unconscious. Somebody became very angry. Somebody broke the leaves of the plants, trees, and started beating horses, horsemen, and Akrurji. And somebody thought, many cowherd girls thought, rather than being crushed every day under the wheel of day-night from separation from Lord Krishna, it is better to get crushed under the wheel of the Lord's chariot. This was the highest form of intense remembrance of Lord Hari. It was a Smriti Sukh. The highest form of Smriti Sukh, that is a Smriti of Lord Hari. Lord is going to live. What will happen? Generally in the material world, the living entity, they always remain in a Vismruti Dukha. They are always in a forgetfulness of the Lord. And that's why they are always in pain. Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is written, Krishna bhuli sei jiva anadi bahirmukha ata eva maya tare deya samsara dukkha. So living entity is always in a Vismruti Dukha. But there is another Dukha also is there. Smruti Sukh, Vismruti Dukha, and there is another Smruti Dukha. The demoniac mentality, like Kamsa, who was always remembering Krishna, but he was not experiencing joy. He was experiencing extreme pain. So demonic mentality, although they remember Krishna, they are always in great pain and anxiety. So Krishna is about to leave. The chariot is living. First the whole chariot is thin, then the chariot is becoming smaller and smaller, and then it becomes like a small dot, and then nothing but the Brajraj, which is left behind by the hooves of the horses. How Brajvasis, they survived the separation from Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Here Krishna writes, simply because I have promised to return home, my fully devoted cowherd girls, the cowherd girlfriends, struggle to maintain their lives somehow. First, they could survive their in their body was that hope that Krishna will come. Second, Acharyas say, they got a strength from the chanting of the holy name. Third, they thought that if they leave Krishna, if they leave their body, then Krishna will be most displeased. And the fourth reason why they survived, it is mentioned by Acharyas, that a pond which is filled with water and which has got so many tortoises, they joyfully swim in that water, filled, cool water of the pond. But in the summer season, when the heat of the summer evaporates that entire water body, tortoises, they take shelter into the mud. They somehow survive by taking shelter in the mud. Similarly, in this summer of separation of Lord Krishna, the entire water in this Viraha Tap, the pond of their heart completely became dried. And their prana kurma, their soul, took shelter in the mud of one particular word, one particular sentence, I will return. So the soul of Brajvasis survived because of this one particular promise which Krishna gave, that I will return. Vrindavan in absence of Krishna was like a volcano. Acharyas mentioned that volcano of separation, the separation from Krishna was like a undercurrent, subterranean, massive force underneath the volcano. Srimati Radharani was the center of that force. Gopis were the crater of that force. Brajvasis were the mountain of that volcano. And the dust which arises from that volcano was the grief, was in the form of the ash, and the hot molten lava which volcano brings out was the hot tears of Brajvasis' eyes. This was the situation of Vrindavan. After Kamsa was killed, before Kamsa was killed, we saw just now the extreme degree of separation when Krishna left. There was a similar incident, similar tearful separation took place after Kamsa was killed. When Kamsa was about to be killed, all Brajvasis, headed by Nanda Baba, they went to arena of this fight. And everyone was in great anxiety, were watching the fight between the great Chanur and Mustika, and ultimately they saw that Krishna had killed Kamsa. And Mathuravasi was in great joy. But there was some section of audience who was not at all happy. That was our Brajvasis. They came to Krishna after the fight was over and told Krishna, Krishna, Kamsa is killed. Let us go back to Vrindavan immediately. We have brought all the gifts. Let's go. But here, Vasudeva and Devaki Maya were there. Krishna still had to fulfill the promise of being with Devaki Maya and Vasudeva. And Nanda Baba was in great pain. He was telling Krishna, Krishna, how can I see that fact that you are staying in somebody's house? There was another great thunderbolt in his heart, that Krishna was not his son, but it was Vasudeva and Devaki's son. And Krishna was again and again and again telling Nanda Baba, I am your and Yashoda Maya's son. Please believe me, I will come very soon. I will just finish few more demons and I'll come. Sridhama came into the picture. Sridhama said, Krishna, when we play hide and seek, even for a moment when you hide behind a tree, we almost die in your separation. How do you expect us to live away from leaving you behind such a long place? And how do you expect us to live for such a long time away from you? Nanda Baba told Krishna, Krishna, if I return without you, what face I will show to Yashoda Maiya? What face I will show to Brajvasi? At that time, Krishna could not hold his resolve of not to go back. And out of utter desperation, he held on to Nanda Baba's lotus feet with tears, just like somebody holds on to boat in the middle of a thunderstorm. That time, Vasudev, quickly using intelligence, brought lot of gifts to Krishna, to give it to Nanda Baba and Brajvasis. And now, all the Brajvasis, they realized that Krishna is not going to come back. Krishna has to get his Upanayana. Krishna has to go to school under Sandipani Muni ashram. And then when Brajvasis started living with the bullock carts, when Krishna left Vrindavan, it was Brajvasis who were staring at the Rath getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And here now Krishna, with tears in his eyes, he was watching the bullock carts getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The bulls, they were shaking their majestic horns and with tears looking towards Krishna. And that time, Nanda Baba was looking in the direction of a north pole. That direction, without blinking his eyes, he was looking at the beautiful Krishna Rupi Dhruva Nakshatra. That one day, he had only one nakshatra, that is Krishna Rupi Nakshatra. One day his son will return. Just like a very rich man trying to prove the purity of his gold ornament, puts that ornament into fire. Similarly, to reveal the unparalleled love of Brajvasis for Krishna, Hari placed his most beloved associates into this fire of separation. When Nanda Baba returned, all Brajvasis, they came back, trying to reclaim their life breath. Krishna was their life breath, but sadly they saw empty caravan and empty chariot. Nanda Baba was feeling so grief in his heart that for 3 days, 3 nights, he did not come out. And ultimately when he realized that if he does not come out, Brajvasis will leave their body, he came out and again repeated that same promise that Krishna is going to come. Very soon, Krishna will come. And then he gave them the gifts which Krishna had personally given to these all Brajvasis. And what did Brajvasis do? Just like a gambler, when a gambler has lost everything but a few penny, and he puts that penny itself trying to win in the hope against hope, he tries to win his entire wealth. Similarly, Brajvasis who had lost everything, with this little new hope that Krishna may come, they took those gifts, thinking that the day when Krishna will come, we'll wear these gifts and we'll show to Krishna. Vasudev, as we saw, he was the head of the family, head of the whole Kahot clan. But how he spent his days in absence of Krishna. He used to think, does Krishna remember us? Does he remember cows, calves, Govardhan, us? He saved so many times, all of us. He saved us from the fire. And now, when we are in fire of this great separation, which is consuming everyone, why is not saving us from this fire of separation? He says, Sarva naha shithila kriya. All my activities, all activities of Brajvasi became stunned, stopped. Nanda Baba says that cruel Kansa not only imprisoned Nanda Baba, Devki Maiya and Vasudev, but he has, by taking Krishna from Vrindavan, he has imprisoned us also. In this house, of prison house, there are huge metal chains of separation from Krishna, from which we cannot free ourselves. The form of his remembrance is like a huge metal doors, and all his paraphernalia which are lying in our house are like huge guards, not allowing us to leave this prison house. Nanda Baba says that even if I escape this prison house and I go out, there is no escape for me. If I go to Yamuna, I get drowned in the current of his memory. If I go to Govardhan, I get burdened and crushed under the pastime of lifting the Govardhan Leela for 7 days and 7 nights. When I go to forest of Vraja, then I get burned by this fiery desert of separation from him. Although Nanda Baba knew that Garga Muni had mentioned to him that your son is not different than Narayan, but his Vatsalya Priti was so strong that in that Vatsalya Priti, Aishwarya Priti could not penetrate. Nanda Baba always felt, my Krishna is so fearful. How can he be fearless? Shaligram Shila, which is there in my house, he is Narayan. He is the Supreme Lord. My son is so much fearful. When Yashoda Mai says about how and below, he runs after fear and hides behind me. How can he be a fearless? How can he be the provider of everyone? He remains hungry, he remains thirsty when we don't give him. How he can be the personality who churns all three material worlds with the three modes of nature? When he is hungry, he holds the churning rod of Mother Yashoda. How he can be Lakshmipati, who steals the butter from the houses of the Gopi? It is said that Anurag, the intense love of Nanda Baba, could not be melted by Aishwarya Priti. When Anurag becomes thin or Anurag melts, then Aishwarya Priti enters. As water is liquid, but in water when we put our hand, because it's a liquid, we can put our hand. However, we cannot thrust our hand into a stone or a wood. Similarly, Nanda Baba's Vatsalya Priti was so strong that he could not remember, he could not fathom the fact that Krishna was a supreme personality of Godhead. Why did Krishna chose Uddhav? As we heard last few days, most wonderful narrations from exalted Vaishnavas. That Krishna chose Uddhav because he was his cousin, he was his friend, he was his advisor, he was a disciple of Brihaspati, he was with the highest intelligence. He was more dear to him than Brahma, Shiva, Shankarshan, Lakshmi Devi, and very himself. Why did Krishna left Vrindavan? To kill Kamsa and Jarasandha? Yes. To liberate and serve his parents? Yes. To give pleasure to his devotees? Yes. To increase the love of Brajvasis in separation? Very much. It is strange that association gives pleasure to the Vaishnavas, to the devotees, his beloved devotees, and even the separation also gives pleasure. Krishna gave separation to Brajvasis to increase the pleasure of love. How is it possible? By simple logic of material world. When we touch fire, we get burned. It causes one particular effect called as pain or a burn. When you put ice on your body, it initially causes coldness, opposite than the heat. But when there is extreme cold, then that extreme cold object kept for a long time causes the same effect, it causes burn. And this burn is more lethal than the burn which is caused by a fire. It is much more deep. Similarly, the association of the Supreme Lord gives pleasure. It increases the love of the Lord. But the separation increases the love of, it causes the same effect, but it causes increase in the love much more. Another reason why Krishna left Vrindavan, Brajvasis would always remain in anxiety in his presence. What if Krishna lives? What if one day Krishna lives? And in that anxiety, Brajvasis would almost leave their body. And then Krishna thought, it's better to leave and then give them a hope to live, that one day I will come. Another reason why Krishna left Vrindavan was that Krishna wanted to show his very dear devotee, Uddhava, the true love of Brajvasis. Krishna wanted to break that little fragment of pride in Uddhava's heart. Uddhav will stay with Krishna, sleep with Krishna. He was his friend, he was his guide, he was his minister. Krishna, as a dear devotee, Krishna cannot see the pride in the heart of his devotees. Nija janasmaya dvamshana kari. O Krishna, you crush the pride of those who are dear to you. Krishna wanted to clear the pride from his dear friend Uddhava. Also we see any intense service to the Supreme Lord, Uddhava was in very intense mood of serving Supreme Lord. And that created that element of pride. Similarly in Ras Leela, the most intense experience, the element of pride come into the heart of Radharani and gopis. And Krishna immediately leaves that particular place and comes near the Paitha Gaon as a four-arm Vishnu. And when gopis come, he directs them to other place where Krishna is there. But when Radharani comes, his two arms gets dissolved. Similarly, in Mahabharata, intense war, and after intense war, when Krishna and Arjuna were going in a chariot, the story is told by His Holiness Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj. They were going by a chariot, and one day Krishna had a thought in his heart that I myself heard this most sublime knowledge of Bhagavad Gita from Krishna himself. And that very moment, they saw a dead corpse of a human being was lying. And around that corpse, one fox was moving around. As fox is the most abominable animal, and the fox was not eating that was his natural food. Instead of that, that fox was smelling his nose, smelling mouth, smelling ears, smelling and just moving around the body. And Arjun started laughing. How this fox is behaving like a fool. He should eat this food of his natural food. That time Lord Hari, calls the fox. And fox with a folded hand comes and says, yes, my lord, please tell me. He said, why are you not eating your natural food? Fox with his folded hand says, my lord, I am the most abominable living species. I have no hope of any advancement in my spiritual life. However, we also have some element of discrimination. Arjuna asked, discrimination? What discrimination? He said, we also discriminate. I was just smelling the legs of this body corpse, hoping whether he has gone to some holy place. I was smelling his hand, hoping whether he has done any service with his hand to the Supreme Lord or Vaishnavas. I was smelling his eyes, whether he has taken darshan of a Lord or a Vaishnavas. I was smelling his ears, whether he has heard the Supreme Lord's katha or not. And with the hope that if I eat that particular part, then I have got some scope of having advanced birth. When this pastime was performed by the Supreme Lord in front of Arjuna, Arjuna's heart completely became humble. Somebody has said that I keep watch on someone who is going through difficulties. I keep a watch. But I keep a closer watch on that person after he has gone through those difficulties and how he behaves in the time of ease and comfort. When we serve our mission, when we serve our spiritual master, sometimes the phases are very difficult and very intense. And we are able to, by mercy of spiritual master and Guru Parampara, we are able to go through that intense phase of our service and of our life. But the real difficulty, real test comes after that intense phase is over. That is the time when the name, fame, glory can enter. And that is the time we should be very, very careful. And as we know, as we read, that Krishna, O Krishna, you crush the pride of those who are dear to you. In the end, I would like to just share one devotee's dream in this regard. Generally, we don't discuss about dreams. But this is a very significant dream. One devotee was saying that one night, I had a dream that my Guru Maharaj was about to give a class. He was saying that it was night and Guru Maharaj had not arrived at the place where he was supposed to speak. And then he came somehow, and when he went to the room of his Guru Maharaj, he saw that his Guru Maharaj was extremely exhausted, extremely tired, and he couldn't even lift his limb. What to speak of get up and go and give the class. And this devotee was begging his Guru Maharaj, please, you cannot go. You can't go. Right now you are not in a position to give class. We'll make some other arrangement. However, his Guru Maharaj was insistent. He's saying, no, I have to give class. If you want, take me, lift me. If there is no vehicle, lift me and go. Without any other arrangements, this devotee lifted his Guru Maharaj personally in front. He was saying that he started walking with a firm feet and firm grip so that his spiritual master does not get hurt anyway. And while he was walking very, very cautiously, carefully, and with a speed, he saw that hundreds and thousands of people who were gathered, they were watching him, that he was carrying his spiritual master. And that particular moment, he thought, oh, I am carrying my spiritual master. I am alone carrying my spiritual master. As soon as that thought came in his heart and his mind, suddenly, flash, everything vanished. No crowd, no people, there was nothing in his hand. His spiritual master had gone, vanished. And this devotee was crying into the poisonous night. It was crying in the wilderness, where is my Guru Maharaj? Where is my spiritual master? I became proud in serving my spiritual master, and my spiritual master have deserted me. Representative of Supreme Lord Sri Hare Krishna, he also crushes the pride of those who are dear to him. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Any comments, any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.